Right then. So the 2024 season is starting next week and Formula One is officially back. So I think it's now time for me to deliver to you my 2024 F1 predictions. Right, let's do this. My name's Melodino and welcome to my channel. So for P20, like most other people, I've gone for Kevin Magnussen. Now, Kevin Magnussen, obviously, last year he had a bit of a stinker, didn't he? He didn't finish last. That was Logan Sargent, who finished 21st somehow. But this year, I think Haas have taken a step back. They fired Gunter Steiner. They are quite pessimistic about this season, I think, with their new team principal. I can't for the life of me remember his name, but yeah, they just haven't really been at it really. And I think Haas are gonna be at the towards the back of the grid this season. He's finishing P20 in the Drivers' Championship. That's my prediction. And for P19, I have gone for Logan Sargent. Now, across the internet, you'll find people saying that Logan Sargent's going to improve, and I'm not saying they're wrong, He's a good driver. Obviously, he did well in Formula 2, but I think this season he's not going to improve much. I think he's just going to be sort of definitely not on par with Albon, and he's going to be obviously under pressure from Antonelli heading up from F2, and he's just not going to be fighting well up the grid, not as much as Albon is, at least anyway. And yeah, I think P19 is where he's going to end up, unfortunately, for Williams fans. And obviously, P18, we're going for Nico Hulkenberg. So yeah, just like I said earlier, Haas really just not very inspiring, are they? In testing, they didn't do impress many people, to be honest. They just sort of sat at the back of the grid, which I suppose is what most people were expecting anyway. It's Haas. Gene Haas just, I don't know, buy sausage rolls with all the money he gets, not putting it back into the F1 team. So there you go. That's sort of what you get in it. But yeah, I think Nico is going to do a better job than K-Mag. I think he's going to get past Sargent in the championship, but overall, I think unfortunately for any Haas fans, I think it's going to be P20 and P18 for your drivers. Right, so moving on to P17 now. I've actually gone for Guan Yu Zhou. So I think Zhou he's a decent enough driver, isn't he? I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, he gets less screen time than any other driver, really. I don't think, when you watch F1 on the TV, he's kind of the last driver you see, to be honest. So I think nobody's really expecting much from him. Obviously, he's had a few years in F1 now. He's a decent enough driver, like I say. And yeah, I think P17 is just about right for him. I think the Sauber's improved, so I think it's just about where he should be, to be honest. And P16, I've put Alex Albon. So Albon, yeah, I think he's going to push that Williams like he always does further up the grid than it ever should be. And I don't think the Williams is going to be great this year. Obviously, I think the grid seems to be split up towards like the upper half and the lower half. So I think that's sort of what we're going to get with Albon and Williams. I think P16 is where he's going to end up, just about. He's going to get some decent points at a few races, but apart from that, it's just more of the same really for Williams and Albon. And for oh God, where are we now? P15. P15, I've got Bottas. Now, most people, they've probably forgotten that Bottas was even on the grid. I mean, in that Sauber, he's just sort of hanging around. I mean, to be honest, he's probably going to retire soon as well. But, I think the man with a mullet, I think he can do well this season. I think he'll prove to people in F1 that he's still a good driver, and I think that's good for him. And he's going to finish P15 and get a decent amount of points for the team as well. So, yeah, good for him. And for P14, I have gone Yuki Tsunoda. Now, um, lots of people probably might have put God, what are they called again? Visa Cash App RBs. Yeah, they might have put them a bit lower down on the grid, but I think, no, I think the RBs, whatever they're called, I think they've shown decent pace so far in the testing, obviously, and I think that it's just gonna show in the races. I think, yeah, Yuki Tsunoda, he's had what 3 years in the sport now, and he's shown that he's been a decent driver. I mean, he's got some good results in the past. I think P4 is the highest he's gone. I think maybe even this year we might see him on the podium. I mean, that RB was looking pretty quick, wasn't it? So we'll have to see. But yeah, I've gone P14 for Tsunoda, and 13 actually, I've gone Pierre Gasly. So yeah, that's probably going to anger a lot of people. Gasly behind Ocon, who I've put in P12. So look, obviously everybody knows that. Well, Hamilton, yeah. God, I nearly forgot then. Right, so Hamilton's going to Ferrari in 2025, and that leaves a spot open for Mercedes. And Ocon, he's got good ties with that Mercedes team. Used to be their third driver. He's good friends with Toto and that. So yeah, I think this year he's going to be pushing hard to show them that he is a good driver, and Ocon is a good driver. I mean, I know he's not universally liked in the sport, but yeah, I think this season he's going to definitely push a lot harder to try and maybe convince Mercedes that he's the driver to go for to replace Hamilton. If they don't go for Antonelli, of course, or Alonso. But yeah, I think Ocon is going to really be trying, and Gasly, he's not going to have that same drive this season. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to be close. But I've put Ocon ahead of Gasly here. And in P11, I have put Lance Stroll. So yeah, Stroll, I mean, do I really need to say much? Look, he's inconsistent all season. I think towards the start of the season he'll do well. And that Aston Martin, it's not looked the most pacey, but it's definitely still up there. And look, I think, to be honest, Stroll, he's not gonna do that well this season, like he's not done at all in F1. Look, and he's gonna, I mean, yeah, it's just Lance Stroll. He's just gonna finish P11. That's about it, really. Just inconsistent drives and maybe 1, 2 good drives. But yeah, just more of the same ready for Lance Stroll. Right, so now we are into the top 10, ladies and gentlemen, and I can confirm to you that P10 is Daniel Ricciardo on my list. So, look, Daniel Ricciardo is a really good driver. Obviously, he's in the line to get that Red Bull seat if Perez is to leave the team, which I wouldn't be surprised if he does sometime soon. And yeah, I think Ricciardo is going to be pushing hard this season. Obviously, he wants a final go in that Red Bull. He's not going to stay much longer in the sport. And yeah, maybe he's going to try fight Verstappen for the title when he does get the chance. And that's what he's going to be looking for. So he's going to try prove to Red Bull that he's the driver to go for, much like I was saying with Ocon and Mercedes. So yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, the RB's got pace as well, like we've seen in testing. Obviously, he dragged it up to P4, which is pretty good. I mean, for a team that was like at the back of the grid last season, obviously all the chaos as well, Nick de Vries, and obviously they've got rid of Franz Tost now, and they've got that other geezer in. But yeah, I mean, P10, I think it's going to be a decent year for Ricciardo, and maybe next year we could see him back in Red Bull, which would be fun, wouldn't it? Right, so for P9, I've gone for Oscar Piastri. So, yeah, I think Piastri, look, he did a good job last season. And this season, I think he has the potential to, do good things as well. Maybe get a few podiums. If McLaren are lucky, I mean, he could definitely be on for a race win. And I think he's not going to beat his teammate this year, but I think it's going to be quite close. And definitely the gap between him and Lando's not going to be far off at the end of the thing either. And yeah, it brings me on to Lando Norris, who I have put in P7 just ahead of P8, which is Fernando Alonso. So let's just go over both of them real quick. So Alonso, I think that Aston Martin's definitely taken a step back since last season. Obviously, he finished P4 in the standings, but I don't think that Aston Martin's got as much pace as it did at the start of 2023. And yeah, I think just he's going to be in between that sort of McLaren fight with Piastri and Lando in the title. It's going to be quite close, I think. Maybe just a few points separating them three. And yeah, not much more to say about that, apart from yeah, 7, 8, 9 going to be quite close, I think. So moving on to, we're getting quite high up now, and I've gone for Russell P6. Now, I think I was contemplating this of putting Russell ahead of Hamilton just because of the bias with the team. Obviously, Hamilton's going to be leaving for Ferrari, so obviously they're going to be focusing on Russell, especially in the second half of the season, right? So I think he's not going to quite outscore Hamilton. I think, like with Norris, Alonso, and Piastri, it's going to be quite close. But in the end, I think it's going to be Russell and Hamilton fighting for that P6, P5 sort of area, P4. And yeah, I think Mercedes, they've got a decent car this season. Obviously, they're not quite on par with Ferrari, and obviously Red Bull are like off in space, aren't they? So yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. But yeah, I'll put Russell P6. So for P5, I have put Sergio Perez. So for Perez, I think, look, he's last season he started off well, got himself a few wins. He got close to Max in the title towards the start of the season, and then he just sort of dropped off, didn't he? I think what was like 5 or 6 races he didn't even get out of Q3. So yeah, I mean, there's just not more of the same. I think he's definitely going to step up this season. Obviously, he's got the pressure of Ricciardo and Tsunoda, which I think Red Bull are going to be looking at closely this season. See who they're going to sort of bring up into the Red Bull. And I think Perez, he's going to try, look, but I think mentally, on the mental side, last season, I think it took a big toll on him. I think this season, obviously, that's going to carry on. I mean, any psychological work he does, I mean, it might help him. But yeah, I think he's not going to do too bad, not as bad as last season. I think P5 is going to be where he ends up because look, the Red Bull's not as dominant as it was the last few seasons. So yeah, that's where I've put him. P4 now, and P4 I've given to Lewis Hamilton. So yeah, I mean, that this season he's saying goodbye to Mercedes. They've been together for what? Oh, quite a long time now, haven't they? 7, 6 world championships they've won together, and that Hamilton, he's a great driver, and he's going to Ferrari for probably his final stint of his career, and I think he's going to do a good job. But yeah, I think Ferrari will just have the edge over Mercedes this season, and he won't be able to get on par with them. But next season he's going to be driving for them, so that's going to be good for him, and to see what he does there. Right, so for P3 I've gone for Charles Leclerc. Now that's probably going to raise a few eyebrows, isn't it? I mean, Charles P3, and I mean I don't really need to ruin it, do I? Right, so P2 Sainz, and P1 of course Max Verstappen, but we'll talk about Ferrari first, right? So Ferrari, look, Sainz is leaving at the end of the season, obviously for Hamilton, like I was just talking about, and I think he's gonna want to prove to any team that he's sort of going to that he's still the driver to look out for, And last season it was close. I mean, definitely towards like the first half of the season, Sainz is doing a lot better than Leclerc. I think that's where he's going to excel at. I think Charles in qualifying, he's going to put himself sort of further up the grid. than Sainz. I think Charles is definitely going to get quite a few pole positions this season. But yeah, I think on racecraft and just Ferrari being idiots with Charles, I mean, I think Sainz is just going to edge out him this season. He's going to get that P2 over him. And Charles will finish P3, which isn't bad, but yeah, I think he'll be frustrated. He's definitely going to do a good job this season, but not as good of a job as Carlos Sainz. Right, so P1, yeah, I've already said it, haven't I? Max Verstappen. I mean, it's no surprise for anyone. I mean, look, he's so dominant at the moment. The RB20 is on rocket fuel, flying through the field and all that. So, yeah, I mean, that's about it, really. Red Bull still at the top. I think towards these new regulations, the field's gonna, like come together a bit more. But apart from that, it's just more of the same. Red Bull on top. I think the grid's gonna be a lot closer, though. I think obviously Red Bull won everything but one race last season. I think definitely Ferrari, maybe Mercedes and McLaren we could see win a few races as well. So I think yeah, this year it's going to be a lot closer, but still Max Verstappen on top. Yeah, definitely. Alright, so that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. This is actually my first long form video, first time you'll see my beautiful face on this channel. And yeah, I mean, it's been a good week since this channel was started. We've gotten a good few views on the shorts. So if you did enjoy the video, I'm not going to say this every video, but like, it'd mean a lot if you subscribed and dropped a like or whatever you're able to do. I think, yeah, we're going to go on to do great things. So have a good one, lads, and I'll see you in the next.